Let's begin our lectures for today. Today we are going to look at two main topics. We are looking at arrays, and then we are also going to look at methods. I think last week we looked at example of the if-else statement. Okay, there are also some examples on the loop. Okay, so I'll encourage you to try those examples out. Basically, writing a program to repeat certain statements. Yes, to repeat certain statements. Okay. All right. So today we will look at arrays, and also we'll look at methods. Okay, these two topics actually wanted us to go straight to use the arrays in the receipt problem. Okay, but I was also thinking, let's look at the basics. Let's look at arrays again, because I believe most of you have forgotten the concept as we discussed from last semester. So we'll look at it again. We'll look at another variant of arrays, that array list. And then once we are done with that, we look at methods. Okay. Now, like I keep saying, these are things that we've done from last semester. Okay, the syntax just differ, but the concept, the idea is the same. All right, so let's move straight into today's lesson. So arrays. Okay, so we know from previous or from last semester what arrays are. We said they are a data structure. If we say a data structure, basically how data is managed and organized in your program. Okay, so array is one of the data structures that is used to manage or handle or organize data in your program. Okay, so if we go back to look at the example of the receipts, printing of the receipts, and even that of last week, printing of the payroll and all that, we notice that we took in items, okay, items of in the form of maybe if it's a restaurant, the menu they have, if it's a mall or a boutique, the dresses or the clothing line that is available. Okay, these are all items. Okay? And at the same time, whilst we are taking those items, we are taking the unit prices, which is also in the form of a list of prices. Okay, so all these things are with all these things, we need to see how we can manage them when writing our program. Okay. Now, array comes in to help us. Like we always know, array is one of the most used data structures. In level 200, you'll be learning data structures as a course on its own, data structures and algorithms. Okay, where we're going to learn about the various data structures, how they work, the arrays, the linked list, the queues, the stack, the hash, the non-linear data structures in the form of trees and graphs, okay, and also the algorithms, okay, that are associated with this this data structures. Okay, so at this level, our emphasis is on the array data structure. Okay, now Just like we know of the primitive data types, namely the integer, the floats, the long, the short, double, um, character, Boolean. Okay, these are all the primitive data types. Now, with these data types, they signify the data that we are going to use in your code. Okay, so it's always appropriate to identify that data type, okay, and be able to declare or define your variable within that context. Now, if you happen to declare maybe a variable of the same type multiple times, for instance, if you look at our example with respect to the um, the receipt. Okay, let me see if I can get those projects back. Okay, with respect to the receipt, you can see clearly that in this example, we did some form of declaration. Okay, we declared some variables. For instance, we declared variables like the unit price, okay, of the item. We used int as well here, total, and so on. Okay. Then when we came into the program displaying the output, you realize that the items in here, for instance, the items like the exercise book, the pen, and the mathematical set, okay, these are items in a form of string, okay. We didn't declare them, we just introduce them as a string in our outputs. Okay, but ideally, these three items should be declared. Okay, and also declare such that the shop will not only have three items, but as and when maybe the vendor goes to the market or there's a product available, you can add it to your list. Okay. So all this has to do with how you store and manage data in your organize and manage data or store data in the program. Okay, so the need for the use of an array. Now, array is used to hold data of the same type. Okay? Array is used to hold data of the same type. So if the data if the data is an integer, okay, that means that you can use your array to handle it. Okay. So if it's an integer, for instance, the unit price, the number of items, that's the quantity. Okay, they are all in the form of integers. So we can use an array to hold the quantity. Okay. Likewise, the unit price is in the form of a double or a float. Okay, so we can use double or float to hold that list of unit price of the items inside our program. Okay. Now, we also learned that an array can also be an index structure that holds multiple values of the same type. Okay, another definition. Now, the values that are stored in the array are known as elements. They are known as elements. Okay, so just see an array as a list, basically a list. So a list of names, a list of items in a shop, okay, a list of whatever. Student records, students come or employees come, they log in. Anytime they log in, a list is created. Students come and register at the department. When they register, a list is created for all the students in computer science HND1 class. Okay. So all those values that are stored in the array are known as elements. The individual elements are accessed using integer. Sorry. Sorry. So the individual elements are accessed using an integer index. Okay? And this index indicates the position of a particular value in your data structure. Now, zero indexing. What is zero indexing? Zero indexing simply is a numbering scheme used to the numbering scheme which is used to indicate the position of an element in your array. Numbering scheme that indicates the position of an element in your array. Okay. So the indexing always starts from 0 when it comes to Java. Indexing starts from 0. That's say if you have a list of, let's say, names. Okay, so let me see some of the people who are on this. So let's say Majid. List of names. We have Majid. We have Nanayao. So let me say NY. Okay. And because they are names, I'm using string, and we have Paul as well. Okay. So this is a list. Okay. Now, it's saying that the indexing from this list starts from 0. So the first element in the list will take index 0. Second element will take index 1. And the third element will take an index of 2. Okay. So the index are the values written in blue. And then the element is what I've written in red. Are you all following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So basically that is how arrays work. Okay. So it says here that suppose you want to store some different temperature readings, you could keep them in a series of variables. Okay, so double temperature 1, double temperature 2, double temperature 3. Okay, now this is not a bad solution if you have only 3 temperatures. Okay, but suppose you need to store 3,000 temperatures. Are you going to continue all the way to temperature 3,000? Are you going to continue to temperature 3,000?
No, please.
Okay, so that wouldn't be prudent. And so instead, we can store all this temperature by using an array in just one declaration. Okay. Now, when you use an array, you first need to declare a variable for it. So you have to know what type of array to use. The type will depend on the type of element, that you want to, or will depend on the type of element you want to have in your array. Okay. Now, when you are declaring your array, we use, or creating an array, we use this square bracket to do it. If you are storing the temperatures or the temperature value or you want a sequence of values to use the type double, okay, because the temperature is in a form of a decimal value, in the form of a decimal value. Okay, so you use double. So the example is what we see here. Okay, so how you declare your temperature. So this has to do with a normal declaration using your primitive data type double, specify your square bracket, and then the array name, which is temperature. Now, arrays are also objects, or they can be declared as objects. And we know objects, we've talked about it. Even though our last topic, we'll go back into it again, the concept of object-oriented programming. Okay, so which means that they must be constructed. Now, simply declaring a variable isn't enough to bring the object into existence. Okay, in this case, you want an array of 3 double values. So you need to construct it as follows. Okay, so this is the declaration part that we saw earlier. Okay, now in order to construct it as an object, we say equals new double, and then we specify the number of elements that your array should hold. Okay, specify the number of elements that your array should hold. So in this context, the array is going to hold 3 double values. 3 double values. Okay. All right, so this is how the syntax looks like, what we just did. So with the syntax, you can see the data type, which we use as double, or the element type, which is double, then the bracket, then the array name, which was temperature, then we had the new keyword, and then the data type, which was double, or the element type, which was double, and then we specified the length of the array as 3. Okay. Now, there are other examples of ways you can construct your array, legal ways you can construct your array. So int numbers equals new int 10. That means an array of 10 int. Now, char letters new char 20, an array of 20 characters. Boolean flag. Okay, so equals new Boolean 5. So an array of Boolean and so on. Now the last one is what? Color. So this color here is not like the primitive data types that we know of. Okay, however, this color here is an object. Okay, it's an object. Okay, so it says that some special rules apply when you construct an array of objects, such as the array of strings and the array of color. Okay. So you notice particularly about this type of object in the sense that if it were the normal primitive type, the data type is of a lower case. Small c for chart, small b for Boolean. Okay. But when it comes to the object types, you can see here that the character is capital C. Do you notice that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you should pay attention
Yes, sir.
to this. We will talk about another variant of the list, and that will bring into play some of the things I've just mentioned here. All right. So just like I mentioned earlier, you declare your variables. Immediately you declare the variable. So temperature 3. Okay, that means it should take a length of 3. This is how your variable is declared in memory. Because you've not assigned any element to your array, this is how it's declared in memory. So the first element we take in this will take a value of 0.0, second element 0.0, third element 0.0. Why? Because we declared it as double. Okay. And we said dot equals to new double. Okay. And we specify the length as 3. So this 3 here is what is showing here as the 3 values. And then the indexing is starting from 0, 1, 2. Okay, signifying the position of each element in your array. Any questions so far?
No, sir.
Yes, your hand is up, Agbesi. Is it okay, Agbenya? Paul, yeah. Paul, your hand is up. You can
Yes,
ask your
sir.
question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, please, I learned that Boolean always deals with true or false. That is zeros and ones.
Yes.
But on page 46, I can see that new Boolean, it can hold 5 elements, even more than 5 elements. How would that be possible?
All right. So Boolean has 2 values. Okay. Boolean has 2 values, and those values are either the value or the Boolean value is true or it is false. Now, what this is saying here is that your list, okay, your list can take 5 values of true or false. So maybe the first one is true, the second one is false, the third one maybe is false, the fourth maybe is true, and the fifth, let's say, is true. Are you following? So that's the meaning of what we are saying here, that Boolean flags. Okay, so for instance, flag, if you know what flagging is, let's say I've given you a quiz on the LMS, okay, and you have to answer 10 questions. Then the process of answering the question, you get to a question and you are not too sure, you are confused. So you flag that question so that you can always return to that question and answer it. Okay, so let's say we have 5 questions. Yes, we've declared 5. So we have 5 questions. Okay, and in those 5 questions, the first one you flagged it, so it's true. The second one you didn't flag it, so it's false. The third one you didn't flag it, so it's also false. The fourth and fifth one you flagged them, So they are also true. That is what this example here means. It doesn't mean that Boolean is going to give you 5, or it's going to give you 5 different values. Okay, but you have 5 different true or false value. I don't know if I'm explaining it well. Paul, do you get it?
Sir, please, I'm confused.
Hey, please, anyone understand it so that I can explain it to him? Anyone else who understands should explain it to Paul.
So the main reason why I'm confused is that,
Yeah,
assuming you've given us a quiz on the LMS and the possible answer we have true, false, true, as you've written on the whiteboard. Now the answer to is only one. If it is true, but we have other alternatives which says true.
no, that's not the case. See it as what we are saying here is an array, okay? And an array should always be seen as a list. So a list. In fact, let me use, and maybe you don't get a flagging example, so let me use another example to explain. Okay, just like you are saying, you've been asked questions, true or false questions, MCQ, or okay, MCQ is not true or false, but let's assume you have true or false questions. The answer to the first question is true. The answer to the second question is false. The answer to the third question is true. Oh, sorry, the answer to the third question is false. I'm just trying to follow from the list we have. The answer to the fourth question is true, and the fifth question is also true. You get it? So that is what we are trying to represent here. So you have a list of 5, a list of 5
Elements.
Thank you. Okay, so the Boolean here is just saying that the response from the questions can only be true or false. That is what the Boolean is saying. But this is showing the length, the size of our array. And our array has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay?
Okay.
Mm. Can we continue?
Yes, please. Meaning in such case, the questions are 5 exactly.
Yes. So the 5 we are seeing here means that you have 5 questions to answer.
Okay, please
And
understand.
the Boolean here is just saying that for each question, your answer can be true or false. Okay. All right. So let's look at auto-initialization. Auto-initialization is the initialization of variables to a default value, such as on an array element when it is constructed. Okay. Now, when Java performs auto-initialization, it initializes to 0 equivalent of that type. Okay. So what we saw here is a typical example of the auto-initialization. Okay. It's a typical example of the auto-initialization. So initializes the value to the 0 equivalent. That's if you've not assigned any element to that particular position, it initializes it to 0. And then we have here, so it says initializes it to 0. Then when you now come and specify the value, then it's going to store that value in that position. Okay, so the 0 equivalent is where we got the 0, 0. Now we say position 1 should be 74.3, position 2 should be 68.4, the third position should be 70.3. Okay, so that is how it's going to be stored in your array. Okay. Then if we declare temperature of 100 elements, okay, it's going to store, and the last element will take index 99. Okay, 99, the last index is always equal to n minus 1. Okay, where n is the size of your array, which is 100, minus 1 giving you the last index of 99. Last index of 99. All right, so let's look at array traversal. Array traversal means that you are processing each array element sequentially, okay, from the first to the last. So traverse means you are processing or moving from one element to another element sequentially. Okay, so if we have a list of items, okay, we have a list of items. Okay. So a list of items, let's say you enter a shop, they sell pen, they sell Pepsodent, they sell, let's say, a book, and then for, let's say we have a brush, okay. Now, if we say you are traversing, the array, it means that you are moving from item 1 to item 2 to item 3 to item 4. Okay, how do you do that? You can do that successfully by implementing it, or you can implement it successfully by using a loop. Okay, preferably the for loop. And so we know that with these items we have here, the array size is 4. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 items. So our length, the length is 4. Okay, that's the array length is 4. So if the array length is 4 and we are using a for loop and we are starting I, where I is the index from 0, that means that our loop, our index, the pen will have index 0, the Pepsodent will take index 1, the book will take index 2, and then the brush will take index 3. Okay. So we are saying that we are starting I from 0. And then when we start from 0, we move to the condition is being set that your I should be less than the array dot length. And we know the array dot length as what? As 4. Okay. Array dot length is 4. Okay. So if I is less than 4, then the loop should continue. Or whilst I is less than 4, the loop should continue. But if it's equal to or greater than 4, then the loop should stop. Okay, then it says introduce a statement here that you should do something with the I, with the array I. So maybe you want to accept the values, you want to print out the values, you want to add the elements. Okay. Pardon me if I'm interchanging the word values and elements. Okay. So they are basically, I just mean values anytime. I just mean elements anytime I mention values. Okay. So you specify the index, which are these values here, as the element. All right. Now, how do you access an array? How do you access an array? Okay. Now we access the array by the array element by combining the name of the array, okay, the name of the variable, that's the array, okay, with the index, okay, and we do that by specifying the index inside a square bracket. Okay. So over here, we declare the array list as an integer with int 5. Then I is equal to 0, I less than list dot length, I plus plus. Okay, so that means that I should be less than 5. Okay, because the length is 5. So I plus plus. Okay, so that means that at the first instance, so I'll just use a table to explain this. So this is our I, and this is our output. Okay. So when I is equal to 0, when we come here, we'll get list 0. Okay, our first value of I is equal to 0. So if I is equal to 0, the 0 will be 2 times I. We know I to be what? 0 plus 1, which will give us what? What will be the answer?
1.
This will give us 1. Okay, so our output, when I is 0, our output will be 1. Okay, why? Because we are specifying the position of I. Then we move to the next one. When I is, so we increase it by 1. So when I is 1, so list 1. When I is 1, our equation will be 2 times what? 1 plus 1. And that will give us
3.
That will give us 3. Okay. Then we move to the next one. When I increase it by 1, so that will be 2. I is 2. So when I is 2, we are going to get 2 times 2 plus 1. That will give us what?
5.
That will give us 5. Okay. So this will continue till we get to the point where I is equal to 4. So when I is equal to 4, we are going to get
9.
when I is equal to 4, we are going to get 2 times 4 plus 1, which will give us 8 plus 1, that is 9. Okay, so that is how you, basically this example is just trying to show us how we can access elements in our array by using the loop. Okay, and also by referencing the element with the use of the variable name, and then the array, the array, the name of the variable or the array name, and then we indicate the index in the square bracket as we can see here. Okay. All right, so in also initializing the array, that means we are setting the value. So first we declare the array. Okay, so for instance, we declare the array as int, okay, int days in, the array name is days in, new int 12. That means this should take a length of 12. Okay, so by so doing, we say that, okay, day 0, how do we initialize it? We use the curly brackets, as we can see here, and then we initialize the value. So this index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so this will give us what? The 12 elements that has been declared in here. Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right.
Sure.
So let's look at one quick example outside the handout. I'll just explain the one in the handout so that you try them on your own. Okay. But we'll do a quick example, and then I'll explain what you have in the handout for you to try. So we move to our IntelliJ, create a new project. So we'll give our project the name. I'll give it the name array example, and then create. So like we always do, we'll delete the main class inside the SRC folder, and then create our package. So we name the package array com.array example. Then inside the package, we create a class. So we name the class array example. I hope you can all see the screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, so in this example, going to explain some of the basic things we've talked about, and then I'll introduce a new variant of the array known as the array list and how that's also work and its advantages over the array. Okay. So we always know the first thing we do, we introduce our public static void main inside our class. Inside our class. So we are going to try out some basic examples. All right, so let's declare a string of an array, or so we say string, array string, and then we introduce our square bracket. String, we introduce our square bracket, and then we give the array name, let's say student. Okay, equals new array. So let me make it 4. Okay. For student. So we can do it this way. So what we've done here is to declare our array, okay, as an object with 4 students. Okay. Likewise, we can also do a same declaration. Okay. So we can also say string, let's say, let me make it ATU students, just to differentiate the two. So this time around, instead of writing it this way, we can go ahead and initialize it. Okay, so initialize it, we use the curly bracket. So we can give a name, so we can say Frank, separate it with a comma, take the next name. So let's say Sadat. We take another name, Roslyn, and then we take the last name, we say Rosemary. Okay. So what we've done here is that we've initialized our array. Okay, we have initialized our array. Okay. So there's also another way of doing this. Okay, but with this we could go further and initialize it. We just talked about it in our handout or in our reading notes. Okay. So I'll comment this one out. Okay, and we do work with the one we've initialized. So after initializing, you want to, let's say, print out a particular, we have 4 names. Okay. So we want to print out one name. So we say system.out, sout.print, print line. Okay. So we want to print one of the students. Okay. So we know that from what we've learned, the students will have, Frank will have index 0, Sadat will have index 1, Rosalind will have index 2, and then Rosemary index 3, that's position 3. Okay, so if we want to print Sadat, that means that we'll specify the array name, which is ATU student, then square bracket index 1, and that should print Sadat for us. Okay, so I'm going to put here ATU, okay, square bracket, and then put 1 there because that's the position of Sadat. Okay, so when we run this, that should give us our answer, okay, as Sadat, because Sadat is at what? Position 1. Are we all here?
Sir.
Are we all following?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, if we want to find the length, okay, we want to find the length of the array. Okay. So if we want the next person, which is Rosalind, instead of 1, we'll use what? 2. So we'll say 2, and then that will print out Rosalind. All right. So if you want to find the length, we say system.print. Okay. Now we are going to specify the array name again because we want to find the length of that array. So that's the ATU student dot length. Okay. Inside the bracket. And this time when we run it, it should give us Sadat and then the length as 4. Okay, because we have 4 elements in an array. So the length now is giving us 4. It's giving us 4. Now, one of the disadvantages of array is that because we have declared it as, or we've initialized it or declared it to be fixed, okay, giving it a size of 4, we cannot expand it, okay, or shrink it. So there are certain things like adding to the element and removing from it the element, which will be difficult when implementing an array. Okay. When implementing an array. You learn more of that when you do data structures, but this is just the basic. Okay, so array has some disadvantages when it comes to adding an element to the array, removing the element. So because we've declared it as 4, okay, and we've assigned 4 elements to the array, at runtime, we cannot add any other element to this because the length is 4 and we have 4 elements. But if we had made the length 5, okay, and given it 4 elements, that means that we have a space to add 1 more element. Okay, so within that context, it should be able to work at runtime. Okay, but once we have said 4, declared it as 4, the length is 4, then the array will not be able to, for instance, add another element, or we cannot add another element to our array. Please, are we following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is one of
Yes,
the
sir.
disadvantages when it comes to array. Okay. So there's what is called the array list. Array list. Okay, which is also used as an object, which is used to a package that is used to handle arrays, okay? And it's more dynamic as compared to the array. So it has methods in there which you can use to add another item and so on. Now I'm chipping this in, it's not in the handout, okay? I'm chipping this in because of the example we want to look at next week when it has to do with the, when we will be experimenting on the list again and adding arrays, okay? So it is like you can always add an item to your list at any time when you use the array list, and I'll demonstrate to you how we can implement that shortly, okay? And you can remove from the list, okay? Because we are going to try to develop an item for a shop, for receipts, for index, okay? So someone buys something, okay, or something is out of stock, an inventory something, okay? We should be able to remove that item from the list. We should be able to add new items to the list and so on, okay? So array list more dynamic to help you to do that, in the sense that your list can grow, okay, and it can also shrink when you remove an element from your array, okay? So let's look at how we can implement that in Java. Let's look at how we can implement that in Java. Okay. All right, so what we've done here is to, let me just comment the code. So here we have, sorry, declare and initialize. Initialize the array with this line. We are accessing an element in the array. Then in this line, we are finding the length or size of the array. Okay. All right, so let's look at array list and how we can implement it in all these three stages. So to start with, how do we implement an array list when it comes to declaring and initializing, okay, an array list? Okay. So in terms of declaring your array list, we start with the keyword array list. So you can see it here. I hope you can all see it. So I'm going to select it, array list.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now this is how it looks. So array list, now it's going to import the array list from the util package. Okay. So array list, we are going to take the object as a string. Okay. And then we'll give it a name. So maybe this time, let me just use the same name we used, but add, let me just make it array ATU_stud equals new array list string. You see how that is written? So array list, and then you have your less than or equal to, then that is going to take the object, which is string. Okay. Now, if it were to be numbers, in the form of ages, okay, and we want to declare it, we'll just say array list, okay, introduce your greater than and less than. So instead of int, okay, so let's say age equals new array list, okay. Now, instead of int, this will give us an error, okay. This will give you an error because it doesn't take the primitive data types. So you can't put here int, you can't put here boolean, and so on. Okay. Rather, we use, if it's an integer that you are going to take in the form of age, you are going to write it in the form of that object. So we say integer. Okay. Integer, as you can see here. And then here to write integer. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's
Yes, sir.
how array list is different from normal declaration in arrays. Okay. So in array, we would have said int, then we introduce our square brackets. Then we'll say ages equals new new int, then square brackets. Okay, and then we specify the length. So maybe the length is 4. Okay, that's how we could have done this. That's this equivalent. Okay, but in array list, instead of the int, we'll put the integer. Okay, all right. So let's go back to our example we are looking at. Okay, so this is how you declare when it comes to the array list. I don't want us to, let's maintain our example with the name. Okay. So now we want to see how you can initialize variables when you are declaring your array list. Okay, how do we initialize the variables? Okay. So we say array list, string, so let's say ATU student, so let me say student2 equals a new array list. You see the way it's appearing, new array list. Okay. Now inside this bracket, so this time we are not going to use the curly bracket as we've seen in the array. Okay. So this is, let me just put a comment there and say array. And then this is array list. Okay. So inside this bracket, now we are going to list out the element. Okay, how do we do it? We first say arrays, okay, dot as list. Okay, arrays as list. Then in here we come and list the names. Okay, so I'll just copy these same names here, the same way they are written and arranged, and then just paste them in here. Just paste them in here. You all see that? Let me move it down here so that we can. Are you all with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's just another way of what writing this. So I can just comment this out. So this here is like we doing this, and then in array, and then this one, line 13, is like we initializing it in this form. Okay. So we use arrays dot array list, and then we specify the various elements in the list. Okay. So far, yes, they are working the same. Okay. Now let's look at how we can access an element in our array list, just like we did for the array. Okay. Now, one other thing you need to take note of are the methods. Okay, within or the functions within the array list, package, the methods that are available there. Okay, so it's very important. When you know the methods, you would know how to use your array list. Okay. So some of the methods, we have the add method, which is used to add. We have the remove method. We have the remove method. We have the set method. We have the get method. Okay. So we use this method to perform the basic functionalities of adding an item, removing an item, displaying, accessing the item, and assigning an item, okay, or an element. Okay. So for the first one, we want to access an element. We want to access an element. Okay. So we'll use our system.out.println. Okay. And this time we specify the variable name or the array name, which is what? Student2, right? Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Student2.
Yes, sir.
Okay. ATU student2. Dot. So what do we want to do? We want to access the person of Sadat, like we did for the first one. Okay. So this time, instead of writing your square brackets with 1, like we did for the array, with the array list, we are going to say dot get, and then you specify the index. So you can see here in this method, you specify the index, and what index is Sadat? Sadat is index 1. So you put there 1. Okay. So this example is array, and this is how to do it for array list. Okay. This example here is array. Okay. So let's run our code and see our output. So we are going to get Sadat. Okay. So the second Sadat here is the array list. The first Sadat was when you use the array. Okay. And the next thing we want to do is to find the size or the length of the array. Okay. So system.out dot print line. So in terms of array list, if you want to find the length or the size of the array, instead of the word length, okay, we use the size. Okay, so instead of length, we'll say ATU student 2 instead of dot length student 2. Instead of dot length, when it comes to array list, we'll say
print S.
oh, sorry, thank you. Thanks for so student 2. So instead of dot length, we'll say dot size. Okay. So the dot size here means that we can do this for the student, student 2. That's the array list. So when we run the code again, oh, sorry. So you can see that what we have 4. So the second 4 is showing us the size, where the first one is the array length. Okay. Then let's introduce something else. So this time we mentioned adding an element. Okay, adding an element. So adding an element. So we know that in adding an element, we cannot do that when it comes to array because the size of our array is fixed as 4. And we've already given it 4 elements. Okay, so we can't add another element. Next semester, we'll look at exception handling, which addresses some of these issues in arrays. Okay, so there's an exception known as array index out of bound. That means that you are trying to push more elements into your array more than it can take. You've declared the array that the array will take 4 elements, but you want to push a 5th element into the array. So that is going to give you an array index out of bound exception. We'll look at that next semester in Java 2. So how do we do that with our array array list? Okay. So we declared our array list as student 2. Okay, so student 2 dots. So this time we want to add an element. So dot add. Okay, now there are several parameters for the add method that we can see here. So there's the string. Okay, there's the int index and then the string element. So you are saying that add element at what position? So the second one, which is this one, you specify the index, that's the position, and where you want to add it. Okay. So basically, let's use the first one. So add, we want to add another name. So let's say Kelly. So we want to add Kelly. So now after adding Kelly, we want to do a get. Okay. So when we add Kelly, what will be Kelly's index? If you are adding Kelly, who can get? What will be Kelly's index?
4.
Pardon?
4.
Index 4, exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So Kelly's index will be index 4. We have here 0, 1, 2, 3. So Kelly will come to index 4. So let's see First, let's print out the size. So I'll just copy this and paste to print the size. And then we want to get the position of Kelly. Okay, so we want to print, so index 4. Okay. So when we do that and we run the code again, that should now tell us what our size now is. So we've now added Kelly. Our length is now 5. And then at index 4, we have what? Kelly. Okay. At index 4, we have Kelly. Then let's look at another of the methods. That is when you want to set an element. Now we are going to use all this next week to design our form. Our invoice or our receipt. Okay. So we want to look at how this array list and arrays work. So we want to set an element. So if we want to set an element, for instance, that's more like you want to modify an element. Okay. So for instance, we know that the element in index 0 is what? Frank, right? Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we want to set or modify an element. Okay. So when we want to change set as in the Frank as in the 0 to matter. Okay. So we can do that in arrays. Why? Because we are still working within the size. Okay, we are still working within the size of 4. So we can do that easily in an array. How do we do it? Just specify the array name. So in terms of arrays, the array name is just a moment. All right, so we specify, like I was saying, we will specify the array name. Okay, so the array name was ATU student, right? We are doing array, not array list. So, sorry, ATU student. Okay, ATU student, and then we put a square bracket there. So Frank is index 0. So we said we are going to change Frank to matter. So now if we print index 0, if we print index 0, so I'll just copy this for the array, paste it here, and then we'll change the value to 0. So if we print index 0, we should have matter instead of Frank. We should have matter instead of Frank. Why? Because we've modified it, or we've set an element to that particular index. Okay. So now how do we do that in ArrayList? So ArrayList will say ATU student 2. That's the ArrayList name we use. Dot. Okay. So this time we are going to use the set method. So we've used the add, we've used the get, we've used the set. Dot set. Now look at how the set works. It's taking in the index. So you specify the index where you want to set that value to, and then the element you want to set. Okay. So the index we know is index 0, which is for Frank. And then the element we want to put there is Martha. Okay. The nice thing about this one is using this a predefined method. Okay, and that's the next topic we'll be looking at. Because of time, maybe we can't finish it, but I'll try and incorporate that into next week's lecture. Okay. So we have this matter. Okay. Then we can print out get array, or get the ATU student at system.out into brackets ATU student 2.get 0. Okay, so get in the 0. So when we run that, that should give us matter. Okay, so matter is now at index 0. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we can let's do a printout of our true list and see the way what output we are going to get. So print. So let's print the array first, and then we'll print the student 2. That's the array list. Okay. And let's see our output. Okay. Now, the string, okay, that's another disadvantage. I believe you can see my output. It's down there.
Yes.
Can you all
Yes.
see it?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
now let's look at the
Yes.
output for the array. So this is the array's output. And this is array list. Now I'm introducing the array list because it makes, looking at the example that we are going to do with the invoicing and the receipts, array list will make it easy to implement. Okay. Now we want to print out the student, which is the array. Okay. But it doesn't give us that string syntax to do that. The only way we can print this out is by using the for loop, which you would all bear with me that it will be a longer route to take, because we now have to specify the size of the element, the for loop, write the code in there, and then it's going to print it. Okay. But with the array list, it's straightforward. Immediately we said print out the array list. What do we have? We have our list printed in this form. Without us, this is not the case where we have to now go and use the for loop to print our array list. Are you all with me?
So, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So that is it. So let me just chip in the last one, which has to do with the remove. Okay. And then we can call it a day. So I'll bring that here. Just a moment.
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir, we
We
can
can.
Yes,
hear
sir.
you. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right.
Yes.
So let's quickly wrap up. Summary there. My network went off. So let's quickly wrap up. So we are left with introducing the add method. The remove for the array list. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just copy. So just like the add works, when it comes to arrays, you cannot remove an element because it will affect the size. Okay, because the size of the array is fixed, but array list is more dynamic. So if we want to remove, we specify the array name, which is ATU student 2. And then we introduce the remove keyword, the remove method. We introduce the remove method. And then the name we want to remove. So for instance, we want to remove, let's say, Roslyn. We want to remove Roslyn from the list. So remove Roslyn. Roslyn Then the size. Okay. So what position is Rosalind? Rosalind would be index what? What index is Rosalind?
3.
Will be index. Are you sure?
2.
Index.
Yes, 2.
Yeah, 2.
Okay. Rosalind would be at index 2. So let's run the code. Okay, so when we run the code, we have we are just supposed to print out. Okay, so not necessarily want to just print out our list to see whether Rosalind has been removed. Okay, so let me run it again. Okay, so you can see the list now. So initially, this was our list with 5 elements. Okay, when we added Kelly, we made it 5, the array list. And then now we've deleted Rosalind from the list, which was at the 3rd position, index 2. And then our list is now 4, or our size is now 4. And you can see the new list with Martha, Sadat, Rosemary, and Kelly. Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
So basically, that is how arrays work, with the introduction of an array list to make it more dynamic when you are implementing your list or list of items. Okay. Any questions before we close? Any question?
no, sir.
No, sir.
Yes,
Sir, I have a question.
if you have a question, kindly raise your hand. You know the way we do it. So kindly raise your hand if you have a question. All right, so Philip, let's start with you.
Okay, sir. Please, I wanted to ask about the syntax. Like, will the question or the what you are solving depend on the kind of syntax you use for like the code, or how will it go?
Your question is a bit vague. If you can make it specific, a bit specific.
Okay, sir. So I mean, you see, for yeah, and so I mean for the string, for the beginning, we used string string ATU and then the frank and those things. And I mean, like, will it depend if you use like the one you use? Is it that the question will demand that if you use the string ATU or array list? And I'm asking if like which one would be more favorable, or is it that
Yes.
like
So,
you just choose the one you like?
all right. So if you remember from last semester, we did array. Okay. Now, depending on the question and looking at what you want to do. Now, some of these things are uh, um, based on the programmer's the programmer's own discretion. Okay, as to what to use. Okay, but because we did array last semester, okay, which was the basic one, I just wanted to chip in the array list, okay, to see how simple and more fluid or dynamic the array list works compared with the array. So it's up to you to choose which one you use to implement your task or the problem you are solving. Okay. Now, when it comes to the use of the string over here, it is based on our problem. So we are looking at the names, a list of names, okay, a list of students who have joined the Zoom session. So I just pick the names randomly from the Zoom list. Okay, that's why I introduced the integer part, which means if you are doing something regarding numbers, instead of the string, you use an integer. Okay, and the other data types that are available. You get it? Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, Bashiru.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, please, I wanted to ask from the syntax that you wrote, can you just choose one of the array and its array list? When they ask you to use an array in a question, can you just choose one of them, or just it will depend on the question that they ask?
No, so I just addressed that in the first question. Okay, so it is the choice of the programmer. Okay, and I believe next semester or level 200, when you do data structures and algorithms, you understand this more. Okay, all the data structures have a particular role they play. Some are efficient than others. Okay, and the efficiency is also based on the task at hand. Okay, so in this context, from what we've done today, array and array list is more dynamic. Okay, it's more what word should I use? It helps you to grow your array, to expand your array, or to expand your list, and also to shrink your list easily. Okay, it helps you to do that. So if you have a list which will require that you'll be adding elements to it as and when. So I use, for instance, the problem of maybe a shop where you have an inventory, someone buys an item and you see an item is running out of stock. The best way you can implement that is when you use an array list, because with that you can add and remove items, okay, easily. You don't need to go into the code and make those be changing the values because it's fixed. But with the array list, you can always use the method to add or to remove at any time, just as we've seen here. Okay, so the array list is a more enhanced approach to managing a list of items. Okay, so that will go into an example next week where we are going to do the list again, and then we are going to do the receipt or the invoice again. And this time around, you'll be adding items to maybe the shop or the restaurant. Okay, previously we will do maybe only one item or two items or three items. Okay, and those items, we write it there as a string. This time we are going to use array list with the help of the add method to be adding items to it. But if we use the array, that means that we have fixed that, okay, this shop sells this fixed number of items. This fixed number of items. Okay, so that's in that context, that is where the array will work. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sir.
Okay.
Any other question? Any other question?
No, sir.
right. So
Sir.
yes. Any other question? Is it Isaac?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a question?
No, please.
All right. Okay, so I'll make this video available. Unfortunately, because the link ended, I have to merge it with the previous one. Yes, Malik, I'll be the last question. Then we'll close. Malik. Abdul Malik, you have a question? Unmute and speak if you have a question.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm asking about where the array is.
Where
Hello?
what? Yes, go on.
Array list. And the first one is Sadat, and the second one is Sadat. So can you change the name to a different one, or you can
Repeat your
still write
question
the two of
again.
them? And the down one, you write the first one is
Which
Sadat,
line?
and the
Which
second
line? Which line? Which lines are you talking about? Look at the line and address it based on the line.
the ATU student 2. Yes, sir.
Which line? Line 13?
Line 13, sir.
Okay.
And
Yes,
it's
so what's
asking
the
about,
question?
and the first one, you write Sadat, and the second one is Sadat.
Which one is the
You are
second
asking
one?
whether you can change the different name. And
Which
the second
one?
one is Sadat.
Which one is the first
Hello,
one?
sir.
So far, you've showed us only one line. So I'm wondering why you are saying the first one is Sadat, the second one is Sadat. We have Frank here, we have Sadat. So what? I don't get your question.
So I'm sure he mean line 10 and line 14.
Okay, line 10
Yeah,
and
yeah,
14.
yeah, yeah.
Line 10 and 14, nothing like this. Sadat, Sadat.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
it
Yes,
seems
sir.
you've not been following the class. We are just writing the code to compare two things. One is an array. We are writing the same, using the same list of people.
Yes, sir.
And we are explaining one based on the concept of arrays.
Arrays, yes, sir.
And we are explaining the other one based on the concept of array list.
ArrayList. Okay, sir.
So these are two different concepts we are talking about. But we are
Okay.
just using the same list to explain so that you can know what this array is doing and what array list can also do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the list, the names here, you can always change them and you can modify them, change them as and when you want. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll invite you to read more on this because it's not in your lecture notes. Okay, but I still have to introduce it. So please read more on it. Make sure you understand it, how it works. Okay, if you are reading or studying online and you come across it, you should have a fair idea of what it does based on today's lecture. All right. So because of time, you're welcome. Because of time, we can't do the methods, okay? But next week when we look at the receipts, we'll introduce methods in it. So basically, if for instance we want to print the print, let's say the print. In fact, even in this example, we've seen the use of method. Okay, we've seen the use of the add method, .add, the .set. These are all methods, but these methods are predefined. Okay, predefined. We introduce the package, and then we use the predefined method. So next week in writing our code, when we look at the examples that we've done so far, for instance, this receipt, instead of writing this whole code inside the main, we are going to write it in a predefined method. Okay, so anytime you want to print the receipt, you just call that receipt method and then it will print it. So we are going to look at how we can modify this code, add our array list, write the computation and so on in the form of methods, call them in our main method to execute the task. Okay. All right. So God bless you all so much.
So some of us are still yet to get the handout.
I've sent your class reps a message. I've not got any response from them. So please, like I said last week, talk to them. If you don't talk to them, they will not give me any response. So please see them and they know what to do.
Okay.